Israel's military presence in Gaza has been a major sticking point in those ceasefire talks, as Patty just said. Hamas and Egypt have consistently rejected Israel's demand to control two key corridors in the Strip. Now, Israel seeks to maintain a military presence in an area it carved out when the war began, which cuts off northern Gaza from the south. It's known as a Netzarim corridor. Israel also wants to continue control of the 14-kilometre buffer zone between Egypt and Gaza, known as the Philadelphi corridor. Israel managed the area, controlling the movement of goods and people until it withdrew its forces from Gaza in 2005. And since then, Egyptian forces have taken over patrolling duties, but Israel still inspects all of the deliveries into the territory. Both Egypt and Hamas strongly oppose Israel's control over the corridor because it would effectively sever the Gaza Strip's only land connection with Egypt. Hussein Haridi is a former Egyptian assistant foreign minister and a former ambassador, joins us now from Cairo. Mr. Haridi, good to have you with us on the programme. We spoke, 48 hours ago, I think, and one has to say that the shuttle diplomacy continued and does continue, yet there seems to be no break, though the US continue to insinuate there is a deal can be done, a deal is on the table. It's all very confusing for those looking in and wondering what's happening with these ceasefire negotiations.
Well, in fact, there is a deal on the table, and we are waiting for the technical teams negotiating the details of the implementation of this deal. In principle, all the protagonists are in agreement on the deal, but the differences in opinion remain or center around details about sequencing of the measures that will be taken, the list of names of the Palestinian detainees and prisoners, the so-called security prisoners and detainees who would be released, how long the temporary ceasefire would last. So there are some disagreement definitely between the Israelis and the Hamas people, but we believe that these differences are bridgeable. So we are waiting for the next 48 hours to see whether the technical teams negotiating the details would succeed in bringing to fruition and bringing to the finish line this agreement.
We are also continuing to hear that Netanyahu is always being blamed for continually changing the goalposts, and sort of the US influence on him is either non-existent or that they're complicit in his obstructions. I mean, what's your opinion about this, the shifting sands when it comes to Netanyahu's position?
Mr. Netanyahu realizes that the United States, the American administration, in the midst of the American presidential elections. And he understands fully well the how the American system works. So he is making the most out of it in order to score gains with his ruling coalition in Israel. And as a matter of fact, the statements that come out either of his office or the statements he makes are for these far-right extremist elements in his ruling coalition. But at the end of the day, we'll have to reach this agreement. Israel is losing economically, financially. And of course, and the Palestinian people is suffering. So I guess it's in the interest of everyone right now to seal this agreement. What happens next, that remains to be seen. But we cannot hold the future. We cannot hold the present hostage to the future.
No, I suppose really none of us really know what is going to happen in the coming days or weeks, and whether we will see another round of diplomacy from either Brett McGurk, Antony Blinken, William Barr. Do you expect these American diplomats to come back into the region again and continue this push? Or do you think things might get settled in Cairo in the next few days?
Well, we all hope that in the next 48 hours or this week before this week comes to an end, we hope that the negotiating teams could reach an agreement. But barring that, I guess the American administration would keep pushing for a deal for two reasons. The first one, of course, the Biden administration and Mrs. Kamala Harris need a ceasefire agreement in place in Gaza in order to sell it to the American public opinion that whereas the United States has provided security, what they call ironclad security, unwavering ironclad security to Israel, but still the American administration pulled off the ceasefire agreement. On the other hand, the United States is really, or the United States, let me put it this way, the United States thinks that if this agreement is not reached, that would open the door for the retaliation on the part of Iran and Hezbollah against the assassination of Mr. Fuad Shukr on the one hand and Mr. Ismail Haniyeh on the other hand. Indeed. So the United States is really worried about the risk of a major regional escalation in the Middle East.
We will have to, of course, wait and see what does happen. For the moment, Hussein Haridi joining us from Cairo. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.